Today I want to talk about tents, but most importantly, I want to talk about value for money. So it's easy to think you need to drop hundreds of pounds on the best gear. And yeah, spending more can get you some really nice kit. But with a few smart choices, you could save a ton of money, and that money could be better spent on more trips away or a nicer bike. And let's be honest, a few extra beers at campsite. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the process in which I go to for comparing gear to make sure that I'm getting the best gear for my money. So I've owned the Naturehike Mongar 2 for a couple of years now, and I picked that tent for a few very specific reasons. So to show you what I mean, I've picked some well-known branded tents that are practically identical to the Mongar 2, just with a higher price tag. So all these tents use the same style frame pole, have a similar interior footprint, come with two vestibules? I can't say it. Two porches. They come with two porches. And they fall into the lightweight / ultralight backpacking tent category, which is perfect for moto camping. Now, just to be clear, I'm not trying to sell you anything. I don't have any sponsorship or affiliate links with Naturehike. That's just the tent that I found is the best and the one that I'm going to be comparing for this example. I do, however, have another full moto camping setup video which does have my Amazon affiliate links, so if you did want to support the channel in any way, you can head over to that video and have a look at the gear that I recommend and purchase some from there if you were going to purchase it anyway. So this tent is a solid example of a great moto camping tent for around about £100, and it's a great example of how you can save a couple of £100 without giving up any of the features of the tent that you want. So when I was choosing this tent, I didn't just go for the cheapest tent, and obviously I didn't go for the most expensive tent. I had specific things and specific boxes I needed this tent to tick. And that was based on my years of camping and moto camping. So I knew I needed a 2-man tent because a 1-man tent just isn't enough space for yourself and all of your bike kit, your panniers, your boots, etc. It needed to be small and lightweight to save space in the panniers for the extra beers. It needed to be very waterproof because I do most of my camping here in the UK and we all know what this country's like. It also needed a decent porch area to put my boots and to maybe make a cup of tea if it is pouring with rain. It needed to have easy setup, so ideally just the one pole. And I needed it to be able to be pitched with the outer separate to the inner, so that if it is raining, I can pitch the outer and then put the inner up inside so don't get wet. And lastly, it needed to have good ventilation, so I'm not waking up to all that dreaded condensation on the inside of the tent. Now, all of these tents meet that criteria. So what I do when I start looking for a new piece of gear, in this case tents, is I do a bunch of research. So I'll hop on Google and I'm not looking at the price, I'm just looking at tents that match the criteria. And then after a while, I've accumulated a bunch of tents and then I'll cut out and just get a few that are the best ones, the ones that meet all the criteria. And it's not till that point that I then start looking at the price tag. I've said this before in other videos and I'll keep saying it, but I believe if something costs twice as much, it should be twice as good. But gone are the days that budget gear meant poor quality. Most of this stuff is mass produced in China. And guess what? So is most big brand stuff. What really winds me up is the ridiculous markup on gear, especially outdoor gear. Some markups are over 400%. And I get it, businesses need to make a profit, and I'm totally down with that. But a 400% price markup is just mad. You know, I don't feel happy lining billionaires' pockets just because they can charge that much. We all work hard for our money and we shouldn't have to just waste it. So once I have found all the tents that meet my criteria, then I'll start looking at the price tags. And then once I've got my price tags, then I'll start looking at real reviews. Not ad reviews, not paid for reviews, not gifted gear, but proper user reviews on YouTube usually, because it's real people. And the things I'm looking for is I want to make sure this tent is going to last. If it's not costing that much, am I going to need to replace it? Because if I need to replace it twice in 5 years, I might as well have just got the more expensive tent. So it's not just, okay, this one's cheaper. Is it going to last? What is the quality? I need to know this before I commit to buying it. Look at the reviews of the other tents as well. Make sure that there's not anything that would sway me either way and sway me to buying the more expensive tent. But if the quality is holding up, it packs small, meets all my needs, why would I go with the more expensive one? So for my comparisons, I've got my little sheet of comparisons that I have researched, and this is all the research that I have done. Let's start with the weight of the tents. So the Naturehike comes in at 1.9 kilograms, so pretty lightweight. The MSR Hubba Hubba comes in at 1.75 kilograms. The Summit Telos comes in at 1.7 kilograms. And then the big Agnes copper Spur, which is the lightest of the ones I've compared, come in at 1.4K. So yeah, the big Agnes is the lightest. However, it's 500 grams lighter. And to me, £300 is not worth 500 grams. Maybe to you it is, but to me, it's definitely not. But thinking about the fact that it's half a kilo lighter, it's not actually that much smaller. The Naturehike comes in at a packed size of 50 by 15 centimeters, whilst all of the other three tents I've compared have come in at 46 by 15 centimeters. So what are you paying the £300 extra for 4 centimeters smaller? I don't know, man. £300 is a lot of money for that. Surprisingly, waterproofness, the Naturehike says it's 3,500 to 4,000 millimeters of hydrostatic head 20D sil nylon, sil nylon, which all the tents are. The MSR is only 1,500 millimeters. The Big Agnes 1,200, and the Telos the same 1,200, which I think is quite surprising. So the inside of the tent, the Naturehike is 210 by 125 by 100. The MSR 213 by 127 by 100, and the Telos and the Big Agnes is 224 by 132. So yeah, they're a few centimeters bigger, but again, like I said, 3 times the price pretty much for a few extra centimeters. Just, I don't think that is worth that price. So speaking of price, this is the best prices I've been able to find for the tents. This includes sale prices. It is summer 2025, so these prices are based on this time. So the Naturehike is available on Amazon for £120. The MSR Hubba Hubba, best price I could find was £425. The Big Agnes Copper Spur had quite a price range, between sort of £359 and £420, around about those prices. And the Summit Telos came in at £450. You know, you could buy a Naturehike tent and a sleeping bag and a kitchen setup for the same price that you're buying a big branded tent. And I'm not knocking these brands. They are great brands. They're there for a reason. They do make good quality stuff. But sometimes I don't think it's worth the spend. You can get cheaper products out there, but it's all about doing that comparison and often finding that you can get cheaper gear for just as good. So after doing my research, the Naturehike Mongar still comes in at top because of that price difference. The difference in the size and the weight, it doesn't sway me at all for the difference in price. So for me, I went ahead and bought that tent, and hands down, the best moto camping tent I've ever bought. The quality is outstanding for the price. I've never had an issue with it, not even the slightest issue. No seams, no zip issues, nothing. It's all been spot on perfect. I've used this tent in the rain, in the hot weather, across Scotland, across Europe. I've probably used it maybe about 50, 60 times, and it's great. Not a single problem. There is something to say sometimes with big brands usually have better relationships with their customers in terms of if there's something wrong with it, you can get a replacement or get it repaired. However, Naturehike is available on Amazon, and if anyone knows anything about Amazon, if you have a problem, they'll just send you a brand new one. So I'm not concerned about the relationship with the manufacturer when it comes to the Naturehike stuff. But most importantly, with this tent, I feel like it's worth the money. Now, just to be clear, none of these tents I would consider to be budget tents. You know, they're all £100 plus. They are a bit more luxury. All you really need to go moto camping is that £20 tent from Argos. That is all you really need. This is more aimed at someone that wants something a little bit better. So my biggest tip, my biggest takeaway from this video is do your research on your gear. Compare, compare, compare. Make sure your money is being spent in the best place possible. Don't just go for the most expensive gear because it looks good and don't just go for the cheapest gear to save a few quid. Make sure your hard-earned money is going into the right places where it will actually improve your quality of moto camping. I want everybody to be able to enjoy moto camping and being outdoors, and sometimes money is a factor in that. And sometimes I think people think they need all of the most expensive gear to be just like that and do those hobbies. But you don't, you really do not. So I grew up really quite poor, and I spent my entire childhood finding ways to do all the fun activities everybody else was doing, but at the smallest cost. And now I'm an adult, I still have that mindset of I've worked hard for my money, why would I just throw it away? So I still find cheaper alternatives and different ways to save money, because I would rather save that money and go on 4 trips a year instead of spending $1,000 on some camping gear and 1 trip when I could go on 3 trips. I'm planning to do a video upcoming about how my Europe trip only cost me £350 and why moto camping is the best way to see the world and to do it on the budget. And this kind of mindset and this way of shopping for gear is what allows me to do those trips for £350. Because to me, it's all about actually getting out there and doing it and not saving for kit that you won't even get to use. So if you're getting into moto camping, don't stress, just be smart, compare prices, take your time to find what best fits your budget and enjoy it. So if this helped you or gave you something to think about, maybe consider hitting that subscribe button. I'm all about real world moto camping and making adventures more accessible, and there's plenty more to come. That's what I would do if you're doing it in my garage, isn't it? Because all you can hear is the rain from outside.